Mr. Putter and Tabby Write the Book by Cynthia Rylant and Arthur Howard. Chapter 1, An Idea. Chapter 2 is Chapter 1, and Chapter 3 is called Good Things. Chapter 1, An Idea. In the winter, a big snow always comes to Mr. Putter's house. Mr. Putter and his fine cat Tabby liked big snows, but they couldn't go out in them. They were too old. Mr. Putter might slip and break something. Tabby might catch a bad cold. They didn't mind staying in, though, because Mr. Putter's house was so cozy. It had nice soft chairs. It had velvet pillows. It had a fireplace. Staying in was all right when everything was so soft and velvety and warm. They really do look cozy, and as we know from the first book we were reading in class, Mr. Putter really does like to take naps. And you can tell here that he and Tabby both seem to be taking a bit of a nap. One day when Mr. Putter and Tabby were inside for a big snow, Mr. Putter got an idea. His idea was to write a book. He had everything a writer needed: a soft chair, a warm fire, and a good cat. And he had a pen and plenty of paper. "I have always wanted to write a mystery novel," Mr. Putter said to Tabby. So he brought out lots of paper, lit the fire, plumped his chair, and got ready to begin. First he had to think of a title. He thought and thought and thought. Finally he told Tabby, "I shall call my book The Mystery of Lighthouse Cove." It was a very good title. It was full of mystery. As a boy, he had read lots of books with titles like that. So you can see here in this picture, it's black and white. This is showing you what Mr. Putter looked like when he was a young boy. And he liked reading mystery stories. Like this book here is called The Mystery of Moose Island. Mr. Putter was so pleased he decided to fix a snack. He went into the kitchen and fixed a big apple salad, a pan of corn muffins, some custard pudding, and a cheese ball. Mr. Putter spent 3 minutes on his title and 4 hours on his snack. Not much time on his writing, is it, boys and girls? Then he took a nap. Mystery writing was not easy work. Chapter 2 is called Chapter 1. On the second day that he was a mystery writer, Mr. Putter had a nice long breakfast with Tabby of oatmeal and tea. Then he settled down to write again. But first he had to stoke the fire. Then he had to clean Tabby's ears. Then he had to find a sweater. Then he had to move his chair closer to the window. Then he had to move it back. Then he settled down again. He was ready to write. Mr. Putter looked at the walls and he thought and thought and thought. Finally he wrote Chapter 1. He began to think some more. As he was thinking, he looked out the window. A rabbit was in the yard. "Such a nice rabbit," Mr. Putter said to Tabby. The rabbit made him think of Easter, and Easter made him think of boiled eggs. He decided to fix a snack. He went into the kitchen and fixed 20 boiled eggs and a vegetable stew. Mr. Putter spent 1 minute on Chapter 1 and 3 hours on eggs and stew. Then he took a bath. Then he took a nap. Mystery writing wore him out. Chapter 3, Good Things. The third day that he was a mystery writer, Mr. Putter woke up ready to write again. He liked being a writer ready to write. First he and Tabby had cinnamon toast and tea. Then Mr. Putter petted Tabby and began to think. He looked out of his window thinking. He looked at his fire thinking. He looked at Tabby thinking. Mr. Putter thought how blue the sky was. He thought how warm the fire felt. He thought how nice it was to be with Tabby. He thought about so many good things that he began to write them down. Good things. Yellow cats, old sweaters, cinnamon toast, long baths, good dogs, rain. He wrote and wrote and wrote. Mr. Putter wrote all day long. When he finally stopped writing, the big snow had melted. Mr. Putter went next door with Tabby to visit Mrs. Teaberry and her dog, Zeke. They had some French fried butternut squash for supper. Then Mr. Putter read Good Things. When he finished, Mrs. Teaberry said it was enchanting. She said Mr. Putter was a wonderful writer. She said she could listen forever. I wanted to write The Mystery of Lighthouse Cove, Mr. Putter said sadly, but I wrote Good Things instead, and I ate too much and took too many naps. Mrs. Teaberry told him not to worry. She said the world is full of mystery writers, but writers of good things are few and far between. Mr. Putter did not feel so sad then. He did not feel sad at all. In fact, he was thrilled. Every writer loves a good review. To celebrate good reviews and good neighbors, Mr. Putter took Mrs. Teaberry and Tabby and Zeke out for vanilla malts. And Mr. Putter had so much fun and thought of so many good things that he could not wait for the next big snow, so he could be a writer again. The end. Now, our story had another character besides Mr. Putter and his cat Tabby. Can you tell me who the other character was in our story? If you said Mrs. Teaberry, you were right, and of course her dog Zeke. Now, do you think that Mrs. Teaberry was a friend to Mr. Putter? I think she seemed to be a really good friend, and she must have lived close to him because he was walking to her house. Now, when we were reading this story, he was going to write a book and then about a mystery, and then he ended up writing a list of good things. And he decided to share this with Mrs. Teaberry. Did she make him feel bad for not writing the mystery? If you said no, you're right. She actually made him feel better because she told him that there's lots of mystery writers, but there's not very many people that write good things. And so it was more important that he wrote what he did and how important his story was. And they actually enjoyed spending more time together. And then Mr. Putter decided that, oh my goodness, I can't wait until it snows again, because he wanted to be a writer again because he enjoyed it so much. So I think that it takes a lot of thinking when you're reading your stories to figure out the kind of relationships that the characters have with one another. Lots of times the author will give us clues either in their words or in the pictures that help you to think of how our characters are relating to one another and acting together. It's almost like you have to be a bit of a detective and you have to find those clues and sort of put them together to help you get to learn your characters in the story better. So we know lots of different things about Mr. Putter. So today, when you go off to read, I want you to look at the characters in your story besides the main character and see how they act towards one another. Do they get along? Are they being nice? Are they friends? Have they gotten into a fight? Do they disagree on something? What's happening in your story between your characters? What are you learning about those characters? How much more can you figure out by paying attention to what the characters are thinking and how they're acting and how they are treating one another? So, when you do, if you find one of those stories, bring it back to school with you on Tuesday and share with us a little bit about the characters in your story and how they are getting along with one another or working together, or are they fighting with one another, and share with us what you've learned about the characters in your story. So now I would like for you to go off and read. Remember to set your timer for 20 minutes and see what kind of stories you can get some information from and learning about characters. Good luck and have fun.